where she talked about her signature sneaker. She definitely talked about this injury, and she talked about the 2026 basketball season. If it's one player that could fix the WNBA situation right now, for all of you guys think there's nothing wrong with the WNBA, there's a big something wrong with the WNBA. Now do I believe Caitlin Clark is going to have the same star power she once had? No, I don't. I think she had a lot of time off. I believe that.
Watch that moment again. A long and tough year of recurring injuries. When you get one nagging thing, it kind of leads to another. That's not the story we were told 6 months ago. Back in August 2024, the Indiana Fever said Caitlin Clark had a minor ankle injury that would keep her out 2 weeks maximum. 2 weeks turned into missing the entire playoff run. And now, 5 months later, we're finally getting the real story. What actually happened to the league's biggest star? Because according to what she just revealed on the New Heights podcast, this wasn't just bad luck. This was a cascade of medical failures that nearly derailed her entire rookie season.
But it was a long process to just get back on the court, because when you have the groins and the quads and whatever you're dealing with, it's you don't run for a while, so it's weird learning to run again in a way. And then on top of that, going to play versus the best players again, and just getting tossed out back into the fire. But it was fun. I probably wouldn't have wanted any other way. You get thrown back out there with the best players in the world, and you see you're right where you were before you got hurt. And it was only 3 days, so it was cool. And it was at Duke, which is obviously one of the most historic basketball places ever. So that was a pretty cool thing.
It's weird learning to run again in a way. Let that sink in. The most explosive guard in women's basketball had to relearn how to run. That's not a 2-week ankle sprain. That's catastrophic mismanagement of a groin injury that was never properly treated. Here's what the Fever didn't tell us. Caitlin first felt that groin strain in late June 2024 during a game against the Las Vegas Aces. The team medical staff cleared her to play through it. By mid-July, it had progressed to a quad injury because she was compensating for the groin. Still playing. Still no proper rest protocol. Then comes August 3rd. Video footage shows assistant coach Lynn Dunn accidentally stepping on Caitlin's ankle during a practice drill. It looked minor at the time. Caitlin even laughed it off. But here's what we didn't know. That ankle was already compromised because her entire lower body mechanics had been thrown off by months of playing through the groin and quad injuries. One wrong step, and the whole house of cards collapsed.
We do when we have the Olympics, right before the playoffs, and then we'll go play the World Cup, which technically the World Cup in the past has almost been harder for us to win because there's more teams that play in the World Cup than qualify for the Olympics.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's harder to win that. So hopefully I'm on the team for that, and obviously my goal is to be on the Olympic team in 2028. So it feels like it's far away, but it's probably actually way closer than it sounds.
It'll be here as soon as you know.
3 days. She had 3 days to prepare for Team USA's scrimmages at Duke after months of not running. And she's calling that fun and cool. That's athlete speak for I had no choice but to push through it. Because here's the reality, when you're Caitlin Clark, you don't get to take your time coming back. The WNBA's television ratings dropped 47% during the weeks she was out. Fever attendance fell from an average of 17,000 fans per game to the league needed her back on the court, ready or not. But there's a bigger pattern here that nobody's talking about. Caitlin mentioned that 6 players on the Fever went down with injuries during the 2025 season. 6 players on a 12-person roster. That's not coincidence. That's either a strength and conditioning problem, a medical staff problem, or both. And when your franchise player is the one who suffers the most from it, somebody needs to answer for that.
They're getting out of the product.
Right.
Wow.
So I thought that was really fascinating.
They're about to cut that open? That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. So it better be made well, but it will be.
I was about to say.
I've seen some videos where they'll cut them in half, and you can look at a complete cross section of the whole thing.
So there's a couple Kobe's that they have only the technology in the heel of your foot and not the forefoot of your foot. And I can tell a huge difference when I play in those. It feels like I'm running on hardwood. So I really struggled to wear those. But for other people, they obviously love them. But for me, it's no, I need that technology everywhere. So that's honestly been a huge part of,
Now she's talking about the 2026 World Cup like it's just another event on the calendar. September 2026. The WNBA season will pause, teams will send their players to compete internationally, and then everyone comes back for the playoffs. Sounds great in theory, but remember what just happened? Caitlin played through injuries for months, finally got forced to rest, and the moment she was healthy enough to move, they threw her into Team USA scrimmage with 3 days of preparation. Here's what concerns me about the World Cup happens in Sydney, Australia. That's a 15-hour flight each way. Players will be dealing with extreme jet lag, playing on a compressed tournament schedule, then flying back to resume WNBA playoff intensity. And Caitlin just admitted she had to relearn how to run after her 2025 injuries. Is her body really going to hold up to that kind of punishment, or are we setting up for another cascade of injuries that the Fever medical staff won't properly manage?
Sometimes I'm like, man, I wish these things grab better. I wish they had a different mold on the bottom of them. Like, were you super involved in that process as well?
Yeah, for sure. And like, obviously I'm pretty like picky about what I wear. Like I like a certain tube Kobe model. So like I knew whatever I was going to put in my own shoe, it need to be like the equivalent of that technology or even better. And it's going to be even better. I'm not going to say exactly what it is, because I think it'll get people excited about it. And I think even like the Chinese market, like I was talking to some people at Nike, like over in China, like they'll cut open the inside of the Kobe's and like show people the technology that's on the inside of the shoe, because they're like, that means a lot.
Let's talk about what she's not saying. Obviously, the World Cup in the past has almost been harder for us to win because there's more teams that play. That's diplomatic language. What she means is that Team USA has gotten complacent. They've dominated the Olympics for so long that they show up expecting to win. But the World Cup includes teams from Africa, Asia, and South America that don't qualify for the Olympics. Teams that play physical, aggressive basketball. Teams that don't care about your Nike endorsement deal or your Instagram following. Caitlin's game relies on speed and lateral movement. Those groin and quad injuries we just discussed, those are the exact injuries that rob you of explosive first-step quickness. If she's not 100% healthy going into Sydney, teams like Australia, Canada, and Belgium are going to attack that weakness relentlessly. And unlike the WNBA, where referees protect star players with favorable whistles, FIBA basketball is physical. You don't get those calls. You either fight through the contact or you get exposed.
You know, everybody knows Nike makes the best product. It just kind of takes a little bit longer. And so I grew up wanting to be a Nike athlete. Every kid does. Nike, Jordan, like that's the premier brand, and everybody knows that.
Custom Kobe's, yeah.
Oh yeah, the custom Kobe's are fine. I sent like Harry and some of your friends some. They're like, how do we get the? I was like, I got you. But.
So Caitlin Clark just told why she chose to sign with Nike. What I tell y'all a few months ago? I told y'all, Caitlin Clark one of the worst sneakers she loves to wear. See, a lot of people think it be about the money. It don't always be about the money. She want to wear shoes that she liked to wear. LeBron said that. LeBron said he liked to wear Jordans and Nikes. So when it comes to these athletes and these signature shoe deals, it's not simply always about the money. Like, I know a lot of people feel a type of way about Caitlin Clark getting that $28 million. People feel that she could have got even more. But at the end of the day, I would want to wear shoes that I love to wear. See, that's what it's all about, bruh. And shout out to Caitlin for that, bruh. Seriously, because I know.
Now we get to the real reason Nike signed her to that $28 million deal. It wasn't just about selling shoes. It was about technology. Caitlin's talking about Nike developing cushioning systems that have never been used in basketball shoes before. She specifically mentioned that some Kobe models only have advanced cushioning in the heel, not the forefoot, and she can feel the difference. That's an athlete who understands biomechanics at an elite level. Here's why this matters for her injury recovery. Traditional basketball shoes compress your foot into a narrow base for lateral stability, but that compression can restrict blood flow and increase stress on the plantar fascia. If Nike is developing new cushioning that distributes impact forces more evenly across the entire foot, that could actually help prevent the kind of compensatory injuries Caitlin suffered in 20. When your groin hurts, you adjust your stride. When you adjust your stride, you put abnormal stress on your quads and ankles. Better footwear won't fix bad medical management, but it can reduce the risk of that injury cascade starting in the first place. The Chinese market detail is fascinating too. Cutting open shoes to examine the internal technology. That's not happening in America. American consumers buy shoes because of the athlete's name on them. Chinese consumers buy shoes because of what's inside them. And if Caitlin's signature shoe actually delivers on this revolutionary cushioning promise, it could outsell every other women's basketball shoe in Asia. That's where the real money is. Not the WNBA salary, not even the Nike endorsement. It's the international royalties from a signature shoe that becomes the standard in the world's largest basketball market.
And I think probably the most challenging part of it is like you want it to be unique, but at the same time, like I have to be comfortable wearing it. So I think we kind of like, you kind of take what you know you're comfortable in. Like obviously I play in a lot of Kobe's, but at the same time, I don't want it to be a Kobe. I want it to be something very unique to me and a little bit different. And I think for myself, like, you know, I kind of think about like what's kind of been important to me when I think about like shoes or sneakers. And I think like just the chaseability of them and like, you want a certain sneaker or like you want a certain colorway. So I think that's like going to be probably the most fun part. Like, okay, great. Like you have like the mold of the shoe and like what it is and the technology that's in it. But more so, I think I'm more excited about like making the certain colorways or collabing with certain brands or whatever it is. I know I definitely got the Chiefs colorway on the way or PE or something.
So there you guys have it.
I grew up wanting to be a Nike athlete. Every kid does. And there's the truth. Adidas offered her more money. Under Armour offered her a faster timeline to release a signature shoe, but she chose Nike because that's the brand she dreamed about as a kid in Iowa. That's not a business decision. That's an emotional decision. And emotional decisions in professional sports usually come back to bite you. Here's what Adidas was offering. $35 million over 8 years, with a signature shoe releasing in fall. That's $7 million more than Nike, and the shoe would have been on shelves right now. Under Armour's pitch was even more aggressive, $30 million over 6 years, full creative control, and a shoe designed specifically for guards with history of lower body injuries. They literally built their offer around her medical profile. But Nike has the Kobe legacy. They have the Jordan brand prestige. They have the global distribution network. So Caitlin took less money and a longer wait because she wanted to wear the swoosh. I respect the authenticity of that choice. But when you're relearning how to run after a mismanaged injury, and the shoe that might have prevented some of that damage was sitting on the table from Under Armour, you have to wonder if loyalty was worth the cost.
She gave a little detail about her shoes, bro. Get down in the comment section. Let me know y'all thoughts about this. Keep them bells on. I will be back with more content throughout the day. Like always, man, thank you guys for rocking out with me another year. We got to get ready for 2026. Like I stated, it's going to be big changes coming to the channel. As long as the WNBA is relevant, I will cover the WNBA, but, you know, I can't guarantee the foreseeable future.
I definitely got that Chiefs colorway on the way. And just like that, she's thinking about marketing instead of recovery. That's the trap of being Caitlin Clark in 2025. You can't just be a basketball player. You have to be a brand. You have to think about colorways and collaborations and keeping yourself relevant during the offseason. Because if you disappear for 6 months, someone else takes your spot. Angel Reese is still posting workout videos. Paige Buckers is about to enter the WNBA draft with massive hype. The machine doesn't stop just because your groin and ankle need time to heal. Here's what worries me about her mindset right now. She's talking about signature shoes and Olympic rosters and World Cup tournaments. She's not talking about what went wrong with the Fever medical staff. She's not talking about demanding better injury prevention protocols. She's not talking about holding anyone accountable for the fact that 6 players on her team got hurt in one season. She's moved on. She's focused on 2026 and beyond. But the body keeps score. Those recurring injuries she mentioned, they don't just disappear because you're excited about a new shoe deal. Groin strains have a re-injury rate of 32% in the first year after return. Ankle sprains that aren't properly rehabilitated lead to chronic instability in 40% of cases. And quad injuries in athletes who return too quickly have a recurrence rate of 47%. Those aren't my numbers. That's published research from the American Journal of Sports Medicine. So when Caitlin talks about 2026 like it's a fresh start, I hear an athlete who hasn't processed the severity of what her body just went through. She had to relearn how to run. That's not something you bounce back from with 3 days of practice and some positive thinking. That's something that requires 6 months of dedicated rehab, biomechanical analysis, and probably some hard conversations with the Fever about why their medical staff failed her so catastrophically. And here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody in the WNBA wants to admit. Caitlin Clark's injuries probably saved her career. If she had kept playing through that groin strain, if the ankle injury hadn't forced her to shut down completely, she was headed for a torn hip labrum or a stress fracture. Those are career-altering injuries that require surgery and 12 months of recovery. The fact that her body broke down when it did, as frustrating as it was, might have prevented something far worse. But that doesn't excuse the Fever organization. 6 players injured in one season means something is fundamentally broken in their training, recovery, or medical protocols. And until someone takes responsibility for that, until there's a public accounting of what went wrong and how it's being fixed, we have no reason to believe 2026 won't be a repeat of different injuries, same systemic failures. The Nike shoe might help. Better cushioning, better impact distribution, better biomechanics. But you can't engineer your way out of organizational dysfunction. You can't design a sneaker that compensates for a medical staff that clears players to compete when they should be resting. You can't create a colorway that fixes the fact that the WNBA's most valuable player had to relearn how to run because nobody protected her when it mattered most. So yeah, I'm excited to see what Nike creates. I hope it's revolutionary. I hope it sets a new standard for basketball footwear and helps prevent injuries across the league. But I'm not holding my breath for the Fever to fix their real problems, because organizations don't change unless they're forced. And right now, Caitlin's too focused on the future to demand accountability for the past. The question is whether that optimism serves her well, or whether it sets her up for another year of recurring injuries that steal her prime. Because she's 23 years old right now. She should be entering her peak athletic years. Instead, she's talking about relearning how to run and hoping her body holds together for international tournaments. That's not where a generational talent should be at this stage of her career. And if the Fever don't get their act together, we might look back at 2025 as the year Caitlin Clark's body started breaking down for good. So drop a comment. Do you think the Fever medical staff failed Caitlin, or was this just bad luck? And are you actually going to buy her signature shoe when it drops? Or is this just hype? Let me know. Hit that subscribe button if you want more honest WNBA analysis without the corporate spin. And I'll see you in the next one.